This is the second part of my video series on exfoliative cheilitis. In the first part I told you a few things about how one of the most common trigger for the largest number of people is diet, and how you can find out what's your trigger. The most common, I told you already, is gluten, but the list is endless and you can safely assume that your trigger can be something else. Images you see rolling on this video are images uploaded to and published on CureZone forum, Exfoliative Cheilitis forum. And in the description of this video you can find a link to those image galleries. I think that forum has been online for at least 12 to 15 years, so you'll probably find hundreds of different images there. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the second most common trigger so far, and that is your toothpaste. A large number of people have reported, and especially on CureZone forums, have reported toothpaste being the trigger. Of course, obvious way to find out if that's the trigger is just stop using the toothpaste, all of them. So then you of course ask, what am I going to do? How am I going to brush my teeth? You can brush your teeth with baking powder, like bicarbonate of soda. You can brush your teeth with a natural sea salt. Yeah, you don't get any foam, but it does the perfect job. All you need is a brush. You dissolve some salt in the water, get some of that salty water in your mouth and brush your teeth with it. Swish your mouth with it. So in reality, if you're spending money on a toothpaste, you should know that it's money thrown, and not only money thrown, but if you have exfoliative cheilitis, you might as well be triggering it with your toothpaste. And even if toothpaste is not your trigger, generally it's not as healthy as you may think, or as you have been made believe. Toothpaste today contain large number of ingredients that you should not put in your mouth. Beside the diet, beside toothpaste, third most common trigger appeared to be dental metal in form of dental braces. Dental braces often contain nickel, copper, chromium, and several other metals, and it appears that for a large number of young people that is the way they actually developed exfoliative cheilitis. Now, what happens is actually as a young teenager, often braces are put in the mouth of teenagers. Teenagers get the braces, which in turn end up with them developing exfoliative cheilitis. But once the cheilitis has been developed and their lips start breaking, they get open sores on their lips. And open sores, that's a perfect way of developing new allergies. Now, if you already have one allergy, and let's say that's an allergy to a nickel or whatever material, maybe even plastics, a lot of braces contain a lot of plastics, so you might be just reacting to plastic. So once you develop one allergy, you are much more susceptible to developing the second and the third one. And now, what can be that second and the third one? Well, anything that touches sores, open sores on your lips. As you can see from those images, some people have it really bad, and all it takes for get an open sore is to try to smile or try to open your mouth. So an open sore means that anything you put on your lips, be it toothpaste, be it mouthwash, be it cosmetics, Aquaphor, lip balm, any moisturizer, anything you put on your toothpaste, any kind of food that get in touch with your lips, you risk developing a new allergy. And that's exactly what happens to quite a few people. You see, once the braces are gone, there is no more nickel, at least not all the time in their mouth, but during that time they have developed an allergy to toothpaste, they have developed an allergy to gluten or to milk, or an allergy to anything else. Now, what are the most common allergens in the Western world? You already heard a few of them, you know, I've been talking about it. Milk is on the top of the list, cow milk. But there are also eggs, there is soy, there is wheat, yeah. Like you can be allergic to wheat and you can be intolerant to gluten. Now allergy, it's called, we talk about true allergies now, of course, and there are those also intolerances, which are also not called true allergies, but type 3 allergies. And intolerance, that's like you react to something but not as strong as in allergy. So gluten is a common trigger, but the wheat is an allergen. So people can react to wheat or they can react just to gluten. Wheat, that's more like allergy. Gluten is more like an intolerance. And the top 8 allergens, so we have milk, we have soy, we have shrimps, we have nuts, tree nuts like walnuts, pecans, we have peanuts also, and we have eggs, and we have fish. So these are the most common allergens, and generally if you suspect that something could be of that your peeling lips might be triggered by any food, the first thing you of course eliminate is gluten and those top 8 allergens. On top of that list comes something else, and these are a common food people have problem tolerating. So nuts, any nuts are quite high up, so even those which are not the top allergens. So be careful with nuts. Get rid of them for 1 month if you are unsure if you can tolerate them. Another thing, fruits like lemon, oranges, especially oranges. Also in the same group is grapefruit and pomelo and lime. So these are citric fruits. Huge number of people react to them, especially people with skin problems. Now, next group of foods that people also react to are berries, especially strawberries and raspberries. Now, strawberries and raspberries are the most commonly consumed berries, and also berries that tend to be, if used as berries, in large number of foods. So if you don't know what your trigger is, and if you are on an elimination diet, get rid of berries. Another potential problem in diet could be tropical fruits. Now they are rare, okay, not everybody reacts to it, but considering that maybe you don't know what you react to, you may want to avoid some of them, especially those very acidic. If something is very acid, like a kiwi, or something is extremely sweet, try to avoid it. Now, next group of foods, now we are talking about total group, are generally carbohydrates. There are a lot of people suffering from a problem called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis simply means that you have a problem with intestinal flora. And what is intestinal flora? From our mouth, so all the way through our digestive system, scientists have counted at least 1,000 different species of bacteria, yeast, and several other microorganisms. And these are microorganisms, most of them are supposed to be there. So, huge number of bacteria, probably more than 95%, and then yeasts, and then a few other microorganisms that are not so common. And that's what we call intestinal flora. We call it simply a second part of our body. A scientist estimate that total number of genes found in those microorganisms that live inside of us outnumbers our own genes by maybe 100 or more times. So when you talk about yourself, most people think, yeah, I am me. In reality, what me or what I am is actually me, and maybe one or maybe even more than 1,000 different species of microorganisms that make you who you are. From the moment you are born, you get exposed to them, and up until maybe you're 3 years old, you slowly accumulate them. You keep accumulating new ones. Now, there is a huge number of microorganisms that passes just through our body and never stay there forever. But some of them, like up to 1,000 species, they stay there. So, dysbiosis happens when you take antibiotics, when you take any medications, when you get food poisoning, when you get stomach flu, rotavirus, different kind of intestinal infections. Anything that disturbs your digestion can affect microbiome, can affect microorganisms inside of your intestines. And the largest number of them are in your large intestine. So, once you suffer from dysbiosis chronically, like let's say people take antibiotics, and it's been proven that once you have taken antibiotics, your ability to get back to the normal, or to get back all of the natural microorganisms where they have been, is almost zero. It means that the way we use antibiotics today, we actually change our intestines forever. Now, our intestines have evolved with those bacteria, not evolved, they have gotten developed. Like from the moment a baby is born, baby has totally underdeveloped intestines. Those intestines are unable to do a proper digestion. The only thing they're able to digest is mother milk. And that's, even mother milk contains some bacteria in it, natural bacteria that help aids digestion. So from the first milk baby gets, baby starts accumulating new bacteria in its intestines, and those bacteria actually help intestines develop. Now, once you take antibiotics, you screw it back. You kind of destroy some intestines, and now we can also talk about something called intestinal permeability. Now, you know that when you eat food, that food somehow gives you energy. That food somehow goes from your intestines into your body. For that to happen, food has to pass through your intestines. And when it has been absorbed by intestines, it goes into the blood, and by portal vein, it's carried straight into your liver. So, if your intestines are working perfectly healthy, they will allow only for a certain size of molecules to pass through. Water will be allowed to pass through, minerals will be allowed to pass through, and some amino acids, some proteins, some fatty acids, they will be allowed to get into your bloodstream. Bacteria won't be allowed to pass through them. Many toxins, many things that naturally develop in your intestines will not be allowed to pass through. Once you take antibiotics, once you take different medications, once you start taking, let's say, artificial hormones like birth prevention, or maybe you take oral steroids or whatever, you start changing your intestines, and you start changing your intestinal permeability. So your intestines become more permeable, they allow passage of things into your bloodstream that shouldn't be allowed. And those things are then carried into your liver, and then your liver will work it out. Usually in the beginning, you know, it doesn't, you don't get the problem when you develop intestinal permeability. You don't get the problem immediately, because first the load is put on your liver, and your liver starts processing things and making them less harmful if it detects them as harmful. But at some point your liver will simply get overloaded, will simply not be able to do a perfect job, and a lot of things that shouldn't be there will start circulating through your blood and will be carried to your lips. And that's one of the way how people develop exfoliative cheilitis and peeling lips, an allergy to foods that has been passing through the intestine that shouldn't be. That happens with gluten allergy, that happens with wheat allergy, that happens with almost any allergies. But there is something also else that happens there. Your intestines can also absorb toxins created by bacteria in your intestines. Now let's say that there are 1,000 of species that should be there in your intestines, and that they should be in a very special proportions for you to be healthy. And let's say you take antibiotics and you change everything in your stomach. You know, if you can't imagine what I'm talking about, try to imagine a rainforest with 100 different species of trees. And then try to imagine dropping a napalm onto the rainforest and burning down complete rainforest in a big area. And then try to imagine it trying to regrow again. What will happen is, for rainforest to regrow, it would have to have input of seeds from some other rainforest, you know, birds or whatever, animals, wind, water, something has to carry seeds of plants so that plants can repopulate. But generally, it takes a huge amount of time for destroying rainforest to grow again. And that's exactly what happens with your intestines once you take broad spectrum antibiotics and you kill 99% of all bacteria in your intestines. It's like burning down the rainforest and then expecting that when you throw 10 different seeds into it, that somehow from those 10 different seeds you will get 1,000 different species of trees. Impossible. So, what really happens in your intestines, or what really could have happened in your intestines, is that 80% of bacteria return back, 20% never manage to come back, and instead of those 20% there is 1% of new pathogen bacteria that starts living there, or even pathogen yeast. And they start producing some toxins which, due to intestinal permeability, your intestines absorb, and those toxins start poisoning you and you get peeling lips. So when you read about stories about people claiming that they have candida, well, what they are talking about is actually dysbiosis. What they have is an imbalance in their intestines, and they may actually have candida. That's one of the possibilities, or they just may have some bacteria they don't know about. But they generally are poisoned by the fact that their intestines are not in a good shape. And one of the ways to solve this problem is diet low on carbohydrates, or diet so-called known as Candida diet. So Candida diet is diet where you don't eat sugar, you eliminate any cooked fruit, anything very sweet, and for the best result you also eliminate all grains, which also includes gluten. So there are a lot of people who managed to actually solve their exfoliative cheilitis by eliminating the foods from the during some kind of Candida diet, or simply called diet low in carbohydrates. So that's so much about diet. Now, there probably we could talk about diet for a very long time, but I'm thinking I think I'm gonna stop now with this video and continue a bit later.